All India Radio.
Regional News Unit of All India Radio Chennai presents a variety program on G20 by the students of PSBB Millenium School, OMO, Semanjeri.
Welcome listeners to another episode of G20 series. In today's program, we are going to listen to the variety program presented by PSBB Millenium School, OMR, Semanjeri. The students are going to give a rhyme on G20.
Family, one future, that's the team of G20. Vasudeva Kurumbakam is the name of G20. One earth, one family, one future, that's the team of G20. Vasudeva Kurumbakam is the team of G20.
Let's listen to the panel discussion by the students of PSBB Millenium School, OMR, Semanjeri. The students are going to give a presentation on the various aspects of the G20 and how it is going to help India develop in different sectors.
You're with us on the General Service of All India Radio. Today, we shall be discussing a topic that has been taking rounds lately, India's G20 presidency. The G20 or Group of 20 is basically an intergovernmental forum comprising of 19 countries and the European Union. It works to address major issues related to the global economy. India holds the presidency of G20 from December 1, 2022 to November 30, 2023. For India, the G20 presidency also marks the beginning of Amrit Kal. India's G20 presidency strives for a just and equitable growth for all in the world as we navigate through these turbulent times in a sustainable, holistic, responsible and inclusive manner. As the theme of India's G20 presidency is Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which is one earth, one family, one future, we have with us the representatives of respective departments here to discuss the various initiatives undertaken for a prosperous future. Something that spurs innovation and encourages markets to become specialized is trade. My first question would be to Mr. Harish. What is India's strategy for global trade growth that will positively affect all the countries if implemented?
Firstly, the main strategy is lowering track costs and aims to reduce costs by 15%, helping the small enterprises and countries. Secondly, would be promoting e-commerce development as in the light of profound transformation, a lot of economic and trade structures triggered by the growth of digital trade. Thirdly, is to develop a World Trade Outlook Indicator which provides an early warning of market disruption, giving policymakers time that will help them in decision making.
Why do you think India should highlight trade as one of the main agendas in the G20?
Well, trade itself is essential for keeping a competitive global economy and lowers the price of goods. Together, the G20 members represent 85% of global GDP, 75% of international trade, and 2/3 of world population. Because of its size and strategic importance, the G20 has a crucial role in setting the path for the future of global economic growth. So, when such a big forum takes international trade into its hands, it will surely help developing countries and industries both small and big.
Having spoken of trade, I'd like to move towards food. India trades agricultural products and agriculture is the backbone of Indian economy. So, Ms. Sanjita, what are India's agriculture and food security priorities as a G20 president?
We plan to promote resilient and sustainable agriculture and food systems. Open, fair, predictable, transparent and non-discriminatory agricultural trade to expand food availability and affordability for all, and innovative agripreneurship through digital agriculture to promote farmers' livelihood in rural areas.
What are the most critical gaps in global food security that India as a G20 president can help the global community fill? And also, what are the measures India has to offer to help the global community?
The Russia-Ukraine war has deepened global food insecurity and has significantly impacted the agri-food supply chain system, particularly in developing countries. So, we plan to strengthen cooperation and coordination between the G20 countries by depoliticizing global supply of food, fertilizers, and medical products so that geopolitical tensions do not lead to humanitarian crisis. We also attempt to bring global consensus on the issues related to farm subsidies, focusing on repurposing farm subsidies for developing sustainable agricultural system. Protecting the vulnerable from disruptions in a food trade supply system through diversified food production will be a focus of India.
Right. To ensure that these words turn into reality, we need social interest and money. It is obvious that it is out of social interest that these initiatives have been shaped. Mr. Srijit, having said that finance plays a crucial role in all the sectors of our economy, could you brief us about the two parallel tracks in G20?
The two tracks are Sherpa and Finance. The Sherpa track is going to cover a plethora of sectors of the global economy, from digitalization to tourism. On the other hand, the financial track will look forward to solving problems and adapting to the current trend of digitalization and how it could be improved. In addition to that, issues related to the financial framework will be resolved, such as global financial safety net, managing debt vulnerabilities, capital flow management, etc.
And what does India's G20 financial agenda aim towards?
G20 finance track outcomes will aid sustainable and inclusive growth for all and bring more resilience to the global economy. We also hope that the G20 finance track agenda will improve our collective preparedness for future challenges and needs, especially for developing and vulnerable economies. Furthermore, reorienting international financial institutions to meet the shared global challenges of the 21st century, financing cities of tomorrow, managing global debt vulnerabilities, advancing financial inclusion and productivity gains, financing for climate actions and SDGs, globally coordinated approach to unbacked crypto assets, and advancing financial international taxation agenda are the main aims of the financial track under India's G20 presidency.
Having spoken about the economy's energy, which is finance, I'd like to divert towards the environment's energy. My question would be, how positioned is India to take charge of sustainable energy solutions, Ms. Soumya?
Well, India is the third largest producer of renewable energy in the world and boasts the fourth largest installed wind energy capacity and the fifth largest solar installed capacity. With the fastest growing renewable energy capacity in the world, I don't see why India is not well positioned to lead the charge in sustainable energy. The one source of energy that cannot be polluted, that's inexhaustive and is renewable, is the solar energy. India and France jointly conceived the International Solar Alliance to mobilize efforts against climate change through the deployment of solar energy solution. India has set priorities for increasing renewable energy capacity, fostering collaborations on biofuels, supply chain and decentralized renewable energy, showcasing its progress to the world as an example of how collective action can lead to a clean, green energy transition.
Right. And what are the initiatives under India's G20 presidency?
We are mainly focusing our initiative into three broad spectrums, starting with an NHM, National Hydrogen Mission, and we are incorporating international partnerships. This was announced with the objectives of decarbonizing major economic sectors, making India energy independent, and for the global clean energy transition. We aim to provide a comprehensive plan for establishing a green hydrogen ecosystem. Next on, we move to biofuels. At the Voice of Global South Summit, the benefits of biofuels was emphasized, and India's proposal for Global Biofuels Alliance under the G20 was announced. This is to support the projects that increase the deployment of biofuels and related technology. Lastly, the one source of energy that cannot be polluted, that's inexhaustive and is renewable, is the solar energy. India and France jointly conceived the International Solar Alliance to mobilize efforts against climate change through the deployment of solar energy solution. India has set priorities for increasing renewable energy capacity, fostering collaborations on biofuels, supply chain and decentralized renewable energy, showcasing its progress to the world as an example of how collective action can lead to a clean, green energy transition. With having such aims and priorities to progress to the world as an example, I don't see how collective action can lead to a green, clean energy and how we cannot prove that to be right.
Climate change has been a topic of discussion for quite a few decades now, but this is the first generation that is actually seeing the direct impact and also the last generation that can do something about it. How does India plan to address this issue, Mr. Snehal?
Well, India plans to tackle this problem through a systematic approach which would involve a joint effort from all the G20 member nations. We would commit to drive a consensus on a Green Development Pact of the G20 leaders, which will be a blueprint of strong actions for the next decade, powering green development all over the world. The actions will include investments in sustainable lifestyles, leveraging green hydrogen for climate action, and accelerating progress on the Sustainable Development Goals. India will also work with the developing countries to share resources, development templates, experiences, and knowledge base. India will focus on strengthening global cooperation to address the threat of terrorism faced by many countries, which has increased due to emerging technologies.
A new concept named the Panchamrit has been introduced. Could you please elucidate on it?
India has presented the Panchamrit of its climate action and notably iterated on the need for the transfer of technology and finance by developed countries to developing countries for the implementation of climate action. Through Panchamrit, India aspires to reach 500 gigawatts of non-fossil energy capacity and reduce total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons from now to 2030, in addition to achieving a whopping net zero emissions by 2070. However, our goals are not merely far-sighted, for we aim to cut short our dependency on non-renewable sources of energy by half before 2030. Nonetheless, we also face major problems like developed countries not accepting responsibility for their actions and also a vast disparity of inequality of effectiveness in different regions. Nevertheless, India's presidency will also try to build a consensus on climate finance and green hydrogen in the energy sector so as to unanimously fight this pressing problem.
Even in this young age, the school children of PSBB Millenium School, OMR Semanjeri, gave a presentation on the different aspects of G20. Thanks to all the listeners for listening to our program.
You were listening to the variety program presented by students of PSBB Millenium School, OMR Semanjeri.